Hi everyone, and welcome to this webinar, which is Translations Part 2. If you've not joined us before, my name's Martin, I'm from support, and I'm going to be joined today by...
Hi there, I'm Karen, and I'm also with support, and I am working in the background answering questions. If you have a question, please use the Q&A tab at the bottom of the screen. That's where we're looking for the questions, and yeah, that's it. So enjoy the webinar, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you, Karen. Right, what I want to do is, first and foremost, I want to give a special thanks and a shout out to Mikhail Goran for the French translation we'll be using today in the webinar, and Edgar Garcia for the Spanish translation. So a big shout out to you guys first and foremost. Okay, last week what we touched on, and very briefly, because last week was how do you translate languages. But one of the things that cropped up was how do you translate, or how do you deal with a single language project? Now, what this is all about, the idea of this is that you open up a project. So let's just do that. So this is a single project, so a single language project. But what we're going to do is create a file that we can send to our customer, and then the customer can fill out the text for us. So let's just do the output. And let's just see what we've got. So here is an output, and you can see that I've got user data 2, and I've got some just placeholders in the line of in the text. Okay, so what I can do now then is go to the properties panel and click on to generate a translation template. So we'll do that, and that creates the template. I can click this little link here just to open up the folder, or I could have right button click and gone to folder there. I can't at the moment, obviously, because I've got it open. So here is the translation file. But what I'm going to do is when I double click it and it opens PoEdit, we're going to create a new translation, but we're going to translate to the same language. Okay, so there we go. Now, with the translation files, the PO files, because we got two. There's two files. There's going to be a POP file and a PO file. So the POP file is the template, so this is what this is, and the PO file will be the actual translated text. So in this particular project, what I want to do is go down the text that's already in there and say, right, I need to add the text from my customer for a project description. Now I've already got some text copy and paste, copied, so I can just paste that in. Let's go down to user data. What's the what title should that have? I can just paste that in. I can go down to user data 2. So basically you'd build the project where you would have these little key areas where you know that you need input from your customer. So let's go to 3. All right, so let's copy and paste, and then finally I'll go to 4, and that is going to be the last bit of text I'll be adding. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut, which is Command S, because I'm on the Mac. If you see Command S and you're on the PC, if you're on the PC, you just use Control. So I'm just going to save that file, and then I can close this. All right, so I've now generated a GBEN or ENGB PO file, and yeah, that's now this project translated. If I go to the output, you'll see, hang on, let's give it a refresh. You'll see that, hang on, let's generate, okay, that's what I haven't done. Let's generate the output and update it. Okay, and we've now using that text that we've just added to that PO file and including the text here for the information. So, you know, that's a good way of, you know, getting your customers to add the text to project files. Just to show you, if I deselect this and create an output, obviously as we spoke about last week, I mean, if you wasn't here, but if you deselect a translation in this table, then Pano2VR doesn't use it. So we will now go back to using user data and using the old project description. Okay, so if we add it back again, create an output just to update everything, and we're back to using the titles. Okay, so that's just a little, you know, quick tip on using this particular feature for your customers to update projects. Now, one of the things that I want to sort of talk about with this is we've got pot and PO files. Pot is the template. This is the file that you would use to create a translation. So in this particular scenario, you'd probably want to just create an EM project and save it without any text, and then send your customer the engb.po file. So when they open it up, they can then just add all of the updated text. Now, what I wanted to show you, obviously I've opened up the engb.po file and I'm getting these warnings. This is only because this is the same language as the project language. It's a warning, you can cross it off and it doesn't make any difference. Also, as we discussed last week, is if you haven't got anything translated, it will use the normal text in the project. It will only use this text if it's available, or if you've got text updated. Also, the other thing here, it's actually saying don't end, translation shouldn't end with a period. Again, it's only a warning, nothing to worry about, and it still works. What we've also done is tested this with foreign browsers. What I mean by that is, if I opened this up in a browser that wasn't English, would it then go through the files and try and find, it wouldn't use this, would it then use the default one, which means it wouldn't have the correct text? But we tried all that. I mean, just to give you an idea, this is my Firefox, this is set to German. And if I open this up and copy and paste that into the Firefox browser, you'll see that it's all quite happily still working. So bumping into different browser languages shouldn't make any difference. It should just still work. All right, so that's just a little quick how to, if you like, using the translation side of Pano2VR 7 to to actually get your customers to start helping you add text to your projects. Okay, so I'm done with that. This was just this little tip for this, and what I'm going to do is just I'll throw it over to Karen, I think, and say, Karen, do we have any questions?
Hi there, we do, from Dieter Lucas. So he's asking for using in a single language project. Mm-hmm. And he says your starting tip is welcome, right? But does the client need to use a Poeta installation? Does he need to use the app, or can they just translate within a regular text editor? So how does that work?
I mean,
like, how do you get that information over to
right?
Your client?
So basically, Poedit is free. It's free to use, so they can just download it and use it. Okay, it's free, and as I say, I think the best thing to do is send them the PO file rather than the pot, because the PO file is already set to the language, so you can set it to your own current language of the project. Just send it to them and get them to fill the text out. But PO Edit is free to use. Okay. It does have in-app purchase, as in you can upgrade it to because it is at the end of the day translation software. Okay, so you can upgrade it where it can start to use different translation databases to improve the accuracy and all of that sort of stuff, which is, if you're using it and you're using it to translate, it's worth doing. But also a PO file, you can right button click and open with, and you can use a text editor like TextEdit on the Mac or Notepad on the PC. And again, you can open it up there, but that sort of almost defeats the point of it, because they just might as well send you a text document. But what this does is allow you to send them the PO file, they fill it all out, you get it back, and the project just uses it. You don't have to have any more work. But if they send you a text document or something like that, then you've got to laboriously type it all in. So, that was the whole point of this little trick. There we go. Yeah. I hope that answered that one.
Yeah, okay. No, that's great. That's great. I think that's the only question. And yeah, I think sometimes, though, it might be awkward to ask your client to download, software or something. But I think it's nice to have that option that you can open it in any text editor. It's still,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I was to let's have a look at the translation. If I go to the PO file, open with text edit. So this is what it looks like, just in a plain text document. So you can see its structure there.
Yeah, so it's not as nice, and doesn't have all the features and stuff. But if it's just a few things that need to get done, and that's also a nice quick way to get that, and then you just pop that right into your template and done.
Absolutely, and that's the great thing about it. If we go back to this, go back to the project and open it up. Come on, it's already open, that's why. If we go back to the project, let me just move this folder down so I can get to it with Pano2VR open. Here we go. Right, so basically, if I was to open this up and move that out, you'll see that Pano2VR updates. So you basically send this to your customer, they open it up in a PO edit or a or a text edit. As long as you get the PO file back, as soon as you drop it into the translations folder, it automatically updates in Pano2VR.
That's a nice trick.
It's ready to go. It's ready to go. So yeah.
Cool. I didn't know that.
Okie dokie. So yeah, it's just drag and drop. I mean, this is there's no delete here, because all you do is you just remove it from the translation file, and as soon as you do, it's gone from here. So yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, I think that's it for these questions, or for this question session.
Okay, right. So let me just have a look. So right. I'm going to open up the project that we had last week. Okay, so let's just open this up. Here it is. And I've also got the same skin as what we opened up last week as well. So here it was. We added manually a couple of buttons in the skin. We could change the languages, and we had some tool tips, and we could change the language, and there we go. So this is where we got to. But what we want to do in this week's webinar is show you how we can, well, one, add more translations. So I want to go through that. And second of all, how to add a more dynamic menu into the skin. So what I'm going to do is change the skin to the feather orb. Now, this is the feather orb skin that comes with Pano2VR 7. But all I've done is opened it up and saved to my project folder, because I want to modify it, because of all our skins are are right protected. I wouldn't be able to do it. So you'd open it up, save it to your project folder, and then you can start, modifying it. Shouldn't really be telling you guys this, but that's how you do it. Right. The other thing is as well, which I might have missed last week, is in the skin, when you click to translate a project. So in the project file, when you click the translate button, like to generate a template, it creates a translations folder. We translate the skin separately, as said, because if you're building a skin for someone and you want translated text in there, it has its own translate folder. Now, last week I sort of suggested it was skin, or the name of this folder was skin, and the only reason why I did that was because the name of the skin was skin. Okay, so if I open in Finder, you'll see that we have a translation file, so skin translations. All right, but the truth of the matter is if you change the skin to, say, another name and open it up and click the translation button, which I've already done, to be fair, it will give you the name of the skin there. So it's Feather Orb Translations. So that sort of matches and keeps it together with the skin. So if I was to send this skin with all its translations to someone, I just select those two and send those files. So the translation folder from the skin will have the skin's name and then ending with the word translations. So I wanted to make that clear. I mean, here with the project file, it just uses translations, but of course you can click this button and edit this to whatever you want, but the default is for translations. Right, as I say, I really wanted to clear that up. Let's get that out of the way and move that down. Right, okay, which I think I've now done. So we've got the feather orb skin. Now this has not been modified at all, it's just been saved. Okay, and if we open it up, you can see that, there's all the bits and pieces. This is going to look like exactly like the feather orb skin that you would get when you open up Pano2VR. Okay, now what I wanted to do was first and foremost to show you how to add more translations. Okay, so the way we're going to do that is, at the moment, from the project from last week, we had the English, which is the project language, and then we added German. Now, the thing is, if you want to add more translations, you need to go to the pot file, because that is the translation template. So if we open that up, here we go, the PO file is the translation. So this is only the German translation. If I want to create another translation, I would open the pot file up, and you'll see you can create a new translation from the bottom. And that could be, let's just do French. All right. Now, I'm not going to translate this. What I'm just going to do is just save it to fr.po. That's going to add it to the translations folder, and then it's going to magically appear here. Again, I could give that PO file to someone, they would open it up and translate it for me. But by the magic of the internet, and by the two guys I gave a shout out to, I've got a couple of project files already translated. So I've got one French and one Spanish file. So I'm just going to copy those there. And magically, as soon as I do that, the table updates. All right, so that's that. So basically, all you do is go to the pot file, open that up, create new translation, build the translation, save. That saves to a PO. The PO is what gets translated. To create another one, you go back to the pot file, open that up, create a new translation, and you can just keep on going and having as many translations as you wish. Right, now, there is a bit of an issue with this, and the issues are the names or the titles aren't correct, and the order this is in is not correct. But I'm going to address this when we start to look at the skin, because what we're going to do now is go to the skin and build a menu. All right, and the menu is going to be dynamic. So let's just do that. So I'm going to go to the skin editor, I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to grab a text box, and let's get to the skin canvas. And what we're going to do is call this button underscore language. All right, okay, so that's that done. I'm going to position it 10 pixels. I'm happy with its anchor position. I want it 200 pixels wide. I want it nice and big so you guys can see it, and it's going to be 30 pixels tall. It's going to be a button, so I want the hand cursor. What do I want else? I don't really want a border for it, and I want a radius of 10 pixels. But what I also want is the same accent as all the other buttons. So what I'm going to do, and this is the first tip for today, I'm going to go to the rectangle that's already there that's got a particular color that I want. And if I click on the color picker, I'm going to drag that into the custom color and click OK. Now you can do this with as many as you want. You've got all of these spare placeholders, and if you want it back to white again, just click and drag. Job done. So I'm going to click and drag that there, and what that does now is, in this particular skin in this particular project, what I can do is, if I want to change an accent of the text box, if I go to the text box, you'll see I can just click that button. So that's when you're building skins. That's just a nice little tip for, you know, keeping accents together when you're building. Right, so that's that. Pretty much done. I will change the text so it says languages. I will also deselect the default font. I want it to be
check the spelling on that.
Oh, L-A. Oh.
Yeah, you don't need the O. There you go.
Yeah. Okay. Good shout. Thank you. So, so it's language, 18 font, and also what we have in version 7 is we have the horizontal text alignment center, but we also have a vertical center as well, which I'm going to do. So there we go. That's what this button will look like in the skin. Here we go. So I get the hand cursor. But to match all the other buttons in the skin, you can see when we roll over, it turns white. So that's why I also want to do here, and do that fairly quickly by selecting the text color logic block, and then do mouse over equals true, send the color to white. And that should be our language button all ready to go. Right, okay, so that's basically it. What I need to do now is build the selections. Now what I'm going to do is use the cloner. So I'm going to add the cloner, and we're just going to, I'm going to call this, what are we going to call this? Language cloner. And I'm going to go 10 pixels out, and I'm going to drop it down by 50 pixels because this is going to be the buttons underneath it. Again, I want it 200 pixels wide and 30 pixels high. It's the cloner, it's going in the horizontal direction. I want it to go downwards, so I'm going to set the orientation so it's vertical. And rather than messing around putting more text boxes in, I'm going to go to the skins tree, copy and paste. There we go. And I'm going to drag that text box into the cloner. All right. And then all I need to do is obviously just set its position to 0, so it's inside. Okay, so that's the text box we're going to see. If I open up the skin preview, you can see we've got a selection box for each of the nodes in the project, not the languages, the nodes, and that's quite important. The other thing is that there's no gaps or spaces, so to correct that, what I want to do is go back to the cloner, and I'll make the cloner say 38 pixels. I think that's quite enough, and that gives us enough gap. So what I was doing there is, as I was making the cloner wider, you can see the buttons at the top, it's leaving a little a gap, so each cloned element will have that gap. Okay, so that's basically the text box. What I will do is give that an underscore and call that select. Yeah, select. So that's language cloner selects. That's the selection button. Did I? No, right, wrong thing. Scrub that. I actually want the button. So that's that. And let's call that select. Right, okay, so that's called select, and I'm going to change the text, because at the moment it all says language, right? They're all language, which, you know, I want these to say what languages we've got in the project. Right, now, if I was to do this, you'd say, right, well, we've got this button here, it's called an insert placeholder, and for those that don't know, this fetches data from elsewhere within the project, and we display it in a text box. So if I highlight that and click this, you'll see that we've got no cloner available. Right, this takes us back to a new feature of version 7 for the cloner. Now, in the past, we had the source for a cloner would either be nodes or a table, and that allowed us to build menus. But now what we have is hotspots, translations, and floor plans. I'm not going to go into the other two. I'm just going to select translations. And as soon as we select translations, when I select the text box, all right, when I insert the placeholder, the cloner now becomes available, and I can select the C title or the cloner title. Right, so this is going to be the title of the cloner. Now, basically what the cloner's doing, let's just move that over, is picking up the titles here. Okay, so that's what it's actually doing. So if I was to try and do a preview now, we won't see them because it's fetching them from the project file. The preview can't show it. So what I do need to do now is close and save and build an output. And in the output, we should see those already set. There we go. So that's picking up the text from the table, from the translations. Now, I just want to do one last thing, and then I'm going to throw it over to Karen for questions. But what we want to do now is give this thing the action, or this button the action, to select the relevant language. So that's actually quite easy. We double click, action settings, so we're going to do a mouse click, obviously. And under the player settings, we are going to choose set language. Now, what this will do is, under normal circumstances, you would have a button per language, or you could have little pictures of flags or whatever. But because this is a cloner, we need to do something different, because as we click this, you can see these are the languages available in the project file. Yeah, but we don't want to do that. So what we're going to do is go to expert mode. And for those that know about placeholders, we are going to use the C tag. So it's going to pick up the tag of that table. So basically what we're doing is we're picking up the translation code, if you like, internally within Pano2VR and changing it. So let's just do that. Let's just save. Let's produce another output. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring Pano2VR slightly down, and so I've got access to the browser up there. So now if I right button click, you'll see that's all in English. If I click German, that's now still in English. Right, what did I do wrong? Okay, so let's go to the button. Mouse click, set language, C tag, expert mode. That is correct. And D, that is correct. Okay. Might have my first gotcha. So that's, oh, here we go. So this is French. That's German. Right, here we go. It's probably because I saw rectally. Yeah, okay. It was working. I just recognized that as being English. Don't know why. And then obviously this is the Spanish. So you can see this is now working. The only thing I want to do really is just tidy this up as a menu to make it work. But before I do that, as I said, I'm going to throw it back to Karen and say, Karen, do we have any questions?
Hi there. No questions so far.
Cool. I did appreciate that. I did bomb through that because I was trying to drop some tips in there as well as, you know, staying on topic for the translations.
Yeah.
But okay, so that's cool. Right, well, let's go back then. What I want to do is, I say, tidy that up and make sure this is a working menu. So how am I going to do that then is just simply, I'm going to drag this, the actual button. So the language button is at the top. I'm going to select the cloner, and I'm going to deselect its visibility. I'm going to go back to the button, and we're just going to give it a nice simple action of mouse click, visibility, toggle element, and it's going to be the language cloner. Now I could select it from a list, or you can just start typing, and if you see it there, click good. Right, so there you go. So that's that one done. I'm going to copy that action. I'm going to go to the language select button and paste it in, because what I want this to do is on mouse click visibility is hide the language cloner. Okay, so what that's going to do is this, so we can pick something and it'll hide. So that gives us a bit more of a menu going on there. The other thing is as well is, if you look, we've still got this logic block that when we hover over something it turns white to show that we're hovering over it, but what it doesn't do is show us what language we've got selected. So again, this is a relatively easy fix. We just go to the color logic block for the text, and what I'm going to do is on mouse over equals true, I'm going to make this slightly grey. All right, I'm just going to make it slightly grayer, because the text is black, and when we hover over it, I want it to go slightly grey, but the selected text is bright white. Okay, so what I need to do now is to add another expression, and that is going to be player language when that equals, and again it gives us the options for the text, but it doesn't give us so it gives us the option for the text, but because we are using the tag, we've still got to use the C tag placeholder. Okay, now, and I'm going to set that to be bright white. Now this actually will work, but it gives us a bit of an issue, and the issue, what I don't like, is that it shows me the selected text, and you can see the slightly faded out text when you hover over something, and when I select the German it shows that. But what it also does is it sends that white back to that off-white color, which I don't want. I only want the hovered over buttons to show that. So again, how we fix that, or not fix that, but what we should have done is logic blocks, like actions, they start and work from the top down. So what we need to do is move this one up, so the language that's selected, the bright white, that comes first, so that will always stay white, and the ones that aren't selected will ignore this expression and use this one. So if that makes sense, but the idea is that now that when we have a look at the menu, we get The others turn off white, but not the selected text. Okay, so that's my menu setup. All right, I'll just quickly say, am I clear to carry on, or is there anything that anyone's asking, Karen? Or
No, you're clear to carry on unless, someone wants to write something quickly. But I think it's been pretty clear so far for me.
Right, okay,
Yep.
no, cool, I'm happy with that. Right, so the next part of this webinar is dealing with media. Now, so far we've just dealt with translating text, and now we've just seen something new in the cloner where we can make a dynamic menu. But before we carry on, and before I completely forget, one of the things I said I wanted to look at later was a problem in the translation table. Now, this has two problems. The first problem is that they're in the wrong order. And the second problem is we've got lowercase and uppercase titles. Now, the ordering problem. Now, we sort of discovered this when the guys were sending over the translations. If you look, the file names are lowercase apart from the Spanish one. That turned up with a capital ES. And that, because that was capitals, it actually threw out the ordering. Because it was capitals, it was at the top, because basically what we should see is the project language at the top, and then in alphabetical order the translations. Okay, but now you can see the project language is actually below one of the translations, so that's not right. So how do we fix that then? Or not fix it, but how do we deal with that? Well, we can go to the translations folder. Here we go, I'll put that back down here, and we just simply put this back to lowercase es. All right, so that's done. Let's just save the project, and now you'll see that we've now got the English, which is the project language, and in alphabetical order are the languages going below. If we have lots of languages, by the way, you can add a scroll area and have like a scroll menu for this as well, but I don't have that amount, so I've not bothered. Right, so the other thing is then, is this text, we've got lowercase. How do we deal with that? Well, that's really simple. In the translation grid, for want of a better word, or table, you just double click. You can only do this in the title section, but you double click and then you can edit it. So we can give that a capital E, and we could also give that a capital F. Am I really worried that this is a Mexican translation? Well, probably no, just to keep everything sort of samey. Let's just do that and save the project, and there we go. We've got a much nicer looking menu there. Okay, right, the other thing is as well, because we made the menu out of cloners, I said it's dynamic. The more translations you add to this table, they will just appear in this cloner and this menu, right? But it's the other way around. Remember last week we said if you're in the middle of a translation, you can deselect it. So let's just, let's do German. I'm in the middle of a German translation. It's not quite ready yet. If I deselect that, I can still publish the tour or upload the tour or create the tour, whatever you want. But now it's missing. All right, because we've said it's not ready in the table by deselecting it, the menu system automatically removes it from the output as well. So if we go back to it and add, save the project file, this will automatically update and German's back again. So that's another little quite a new a feature of the cloning or the new cloner for making language menus. Okay, so where we are now going to look at adding media, because there might be, I don't know, a web page, and you want an English web page for English speakers and a German web page for German speakers. So let's just have a look at that. Let's go to this node, and what I've actually got is an English wiki page. So I'm going to open with Safari. Here it is. Okay, so here's the English wiki page. And what we could do in Pano2VR is go to hotspot, point hotspot mode, double click, set it to be a URL, type in the title and type in the target URL and all of that sort of stuff, right? Or what Pano2VR lets you do is if you go to the web page that you want to use, select in the address bar, drag it in, drop it, boom, it's all added. So that's the title. It automatically sets the skin up to the hotspot typed URL. It's using the correct skin ID of ht_URL. There's the title, there's the URL. Done. Right, I can now close that and let's create the output. Okay, so there's the output. If I go to this node, there it is, click on that and we've got the English wiki page. Okay, sorry, I should stop scrolling very quickly, shouldn't I? So that's the English wiki page. But how do we translate this? How do I get other URLs in there? Okay, right. If we go back to the properties panel, this button here generates a translation template. Now, you use this if you add something to the project. This is why we normally say don't bother translating until you've finished your project, all the text is in there. But if you don't doing what like I've just done, that's not very good English anyway, but anyway, if you've just updated your project file, if you click it again, all right, and open it up, what we should have in the pot file, let's just does my editing when things aren't lined up. Here we go. So if we have a look in the pot file, you can see now that I've got here the title of the web page and the web link. If I click on it, if you're not sure, if you click on it, it does actually say here it's node 2 point hotspot and it's the title, and here is point hotspot point 3 and it's the URL. So we've got those. All right, so this is now updated, but I don't want to create another translation. I've got the translations I want already in the project. What I need to do is double click one of the existing translation files and then go to, so when Poedit opens, this is another reason why I use Poedit, because it makes all this so simple. Go to translation, update from the pot file, and as soon as I do that, I select the pot file, click open. As soon as I do that, you'll see this update. Ready? Boom. And here it is. It's got the URL title and the URL. It just so happens, because I've been playing with this already, as we said last week, Poedit has remembered this too, because this is the template memory or translation memory. It uses it puts a little bit on your machine, so it can translate for future if you're using the same word. So this is translated for me. I'm just going to make sure that I've got the correct translation. Yes, that's correct. Okay, so that's basically updated my file, and all I have to do now is just hit save, and that's done. If I was to go back to, let's just bring that back down there so I can get it again. If I click OK, export, just to update. If we now look at this, it's in English. If I select the German one, which we've just done, it's now in German, and that's the German page. So I'm just going to quickly do the other pages because I can. And that's, let's just go to the folder. So I don't have to create another template. I can just right button click and open in folder, or I could have just opened this up. And so we've done the German one. I'm going to do the Spanish one. So all we need to do here is translation update from the pot file. So I select the pot, click update. You can see that we've got them updated there, and we've also we've got the updates already, because as I say, I've been practicing this. If it wasn't there, you would select it and then you would copy and paste the file there, or the URL there, and the same with the text, the title text. Okay, so that's that one. I can just save that.
Martin, I just have a question. What is the yellow text there, or is that
right? Okay. Yeah, okay, the yellow text means it might need some work. It doesn't quite understand it, and so it's asking you to basically check that translation. If you're happy with it, you can click this and it's gone. Yeah, so there it's yellow.
Right, yeah, okay.
It's just basically a nudge to say, we don't think it's correct. Double check it. Okay. Yeah, so that's basically what it's doing. But as I'm just using everything from the translate memory, it should be correct because I've been, practicing it for a couple of days. So if it's not correct, I've been doing it wrong. So yeah, so it should be in there. All right. So that's what that is. Good catch, by the way. And again, I'm going to do the same thing for the French translation. Again, update from the PO file. Click, open. It's adding the wiki title and the URL. It's already done that as well. I'm happy with that. Save. And that's it. If I now export this or create the output, we're here. There is the English. If I go to the French, there's the French page, and I can do the Spanish page as well. So yeah, there you go. So that's basically translating a URL. All right, so that gives you the ability to for different websites, different languages. Okay, I'm going to have a sip of juice. Karen, have we got any questions?
Yeah, so Dieter's asking, can the local translation file, I think that's the POT or even the PO file, can it be transferred to a different computer? Because he has, 2 PCs and 2 offices and, moving things around.
Absolutely. All you do is you just transfer the, so let's open it up. Oh. So yeah, you can, as I said, the pot is the template. So this is where you generate your translation files. These are the translation files that people are translating. So in this case, if you want to build new translations, you would do this. But if you've got these PO files, all right, and you transfer it to a new machine, if the PO file has been translated, what you would do is you could open it. Now you've got all these translations, which obviously this new computer's translation memory would not have. But as soon as you save that, this updates, and then it saves all those to the new computer. So any translations you've done, you transfer the PO file to the new computer, save the PO file, and it starts to update. Because I've been doing this between a MacBook and my iMac here, and yeah, I did all the translations on the MacBook, brought it over here on a hard drive, and just saved it, and they're all here now in the translation memory.
And I think too that just to make it clear that that translation folder actually lives within the project folder. Right. That
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because it's not like maybe you can just show like the file path of that on.
Right. Okay. Let's just have a look at here. So this is the this is my project folder. In the project folder, you'll have the translations folder, and there are all your translations. So in my project folder, I have a skin, and the skin has its own translations folder here. Okay.
Okay. And
So
I think that's it.
So that's the structure. That needs to be. Having said that, you can obviously here click this open folder, and what this does is not open folder, it allows you then to create a new translations area.
Oh, okay.
so-
We're getting like if you go to the settings in PO Edit, you can. There's a way to manage that translation memory. So like you can.
Yeah,
export- Do you
there
know-
is. You can, and okay, let's do that. You can. So let's just open up a translation. Come on, just to pop open translate, and you can, if you go to PO Edit, it'll be file settings on your PC. So it'll be preferences, and you can do TM translation memory, and you can do things here. You can you can mess around with it, but I'm not really going into how to use this. But one of the things that we did discover that was really easy, because if you've got things translated which is not correct, you'll see that if you select something here, you've got this thumbs down. So if you've got something that keeps appearing automatically from your translation memory that's not correct, when you select it here, you can right button click and delete from the translation memory. So you can control it from the interface rather than having to do a deep dive into Poedit itself. So, I mean, you're only adding translations to it, but this allows you, if you've wrongly translated something, to right button click, or even if you give it this thumbs down, that deletes it anyway. I'm not doing that because these are correct, but you can right button click and delete, or just press the thumbs down and it deletes it. But that's a Poedit type thing, and there's lots of resources on the internet on how to use Poedit. But yeah, very quickly you can update your translate memory quickly from the interface. Okay, right. Okay, so there's no more questions, or is there questions?
Oh, nope, that was it.
Right. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is more file orientated. So I'm going to look at PDFs. All right. So let's just go to a node, and like before, I could just double click, select PDF, and add a PDF, or I could be really lazy because Pano2VR lets me add PDF. So I've got a resource folder. Now this is something you've got to be aware of. I've got all my PDFs in a resource folder. Okay, so these are all different PDFs for all the different languages. So all I'm going to do is drag and drop. I mean, let's just delete that first, that one that we added. So I'm going to drag and drop my English PDF here. It drops it in. I'm going to give it a title of 10-page PDF. All right, and you can see it's already added the file path to it. Okay, so if I save that and export, you should see that if I go back to hang on, let's go back to node 1. Oh, that was a complete okay, I'll tell you what, I'll just refresh the page, it's easier. Right, you'll see that we've got the English PDF in there, and just to make it obvious, what it is the Lipsum, but I've just put the word English, and on the French one it says French and German and Spanish, etc. So you can see that we are swapping files out, but you've got the English one there. Okay, to update this is pretty much what we did with the URLs. You would need to generate a new template because now we've updated the data in the project file. So if I click this, we've now got a new template, and the template, just to show you, is open it up. We'll now have 10-page PDF, and it will say resources 10-page PDF. Okay, but I don't want to create a new template, or a new translation, so I'm not going to use that. What I would do is go to the German one, double click, open up my German translation, and again I would go to translation, update from PO file, click the PO file, and then that adds the extra. Now we've got this in yellow because it's sort of saying, you know, is this correct? Well, what it's also done is translated the word resources, or it's changed it. So this would not actually work. So you have to be aware of that, and this is why I was pointing it out, because my folder is still called resources. So I've had to update that, but the file I'm actually wanting, the German one, is correct. Okay, so this is a bit of a gotcha. Because I've used an English word for resources, it's tried to translate it, but it still needs to go into that folder called resources to find the German PDF. I hope that's clear. So let's just, oh, and by the way, it's also the 10-page PDF. It's up, it's translated that for me as well. Again, it's only done that because I've practiced it, and and Poedit automatically add the translations. So this is another reason why it's great to use Poedit, because of this translate memory. Okay, so let's just save that and come out of this, and what we'll do is I'll just put that down there, and we will have a look and see what's happening here. So this is the output, there's the English PDF. If I select German, there's now the German PDF, so we're swapping it out. Right, I'm going to go back and do a couple more languages, only because I can. But whilst we're here, what this is a file, okay? This is a PDF file. Now, had you have added background sound like an MP3, had you had added an image for an image pop-up, this is exactly the same thing. If you'd add it to your project file, you'd create a new language template, like pop file, to add those to the pop file. Then you open up your PO language or your translation file, update it, and you would see not only this, but as I say, the file path for any images or any sounds. Okay, so that's how you would do an image pop-up or a sound or any background sound. Doesn't matter where it is in the project, you will find it here. All you do is you just then select the file it should play within that translation. Okay, so again, what we need to do here is it's saying, is this correct? So RES, no, this is not correct either. This needs to be resources. So let's just RESOURCES, resources. Oh, two S's, get rid of that. And that should be correct. Karen, if you've got your eyes on that, please make sure that's right.
Yep.
Right, cool. And so I'm going to save that. Happy with that. I can close this. Let's just go to the next one. So let's just do the French file or the French translation. Update from pop. Select the pop. Click. It's going to add the 10-page PDF. So there's the French for that. And again, that's spelt wrong. That should be an O. Oh, is it right? No, R-E-S. Oh, it's got two S's in it.
Two S's, no. One S.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, one S. So, but you can see why you've got to be fairly vigilant, because you'll click something and it don't work. And you go, why is that? Because obviously it's trying to translate the resource word of your resource folder. Okay, is that right? SOURCES. Yeah, okay, I'll go with that. So save that and close the file, and I can close that, and let's generate a new output. Basically, I don't have to generate an output. I could have just saved the project file, to be fair. And now what we've got is, if I go to French, there it is. Could go to Spanish, there it is. And we've translated all the PDFs. Okay. Now, we've got one other thing that I want to look at, and that's videos, because videos are slightly different and they can cause more of a challenge. But before we jump into that, we got any questions, Karen?
Nope, no questions.
This is awesome. You guys are really good. Right. Okay, so the videos are slightly different. Now, what I'm going to do is as we did before, we can select point hotspots, double click, add a point hotspot, select video, select whether it's coming from YouTube video file, whatever, right? We can do all that. But the simplest way, as always, is just to open up the video that you want. I'm going to go to YouTube. I'm going to open it up with, so here is the YouTube video. All right, I'm going to kill the sound until it times out. Here we go. So that's the video I want to add. This is the English video, and all I need to do, as I did before, is click in the URL, drag, drop, and that will be added into, no it won't. What's going on there is because I'm not in the because I'm not in Pano2VR. That don't help. Right, so in Pano2VR, let's try that again. I've now lost my video. Where are you? Here it is. Drag and drop into Pano2VR's viewer, not the web output. And there it is. It adds it. Again, it already sets it up as being a video. It knows it's YouTube. It's already grabbed the title. But with YouTube videos and Vimeo videos, we use the video ID. So this is where this becomes slightly different. Okay, so let's just create an output. And where is that gone? I've lost it. Come on, where are you? It's down here somewhere. Here it is. Right, so there's the video output. There's the video. And even though you can't hear the sound, I'm going to turn on the subtitles. You'll be able to hear the sound.
When you see the incredible photos of mountains, vineyards, and castles.
Yeah, you'll be able to hear the sound in the playback recording. But just to show you that it's in English, I've put the subtitles on. Right, okay. So how do we change the language of this? Well, no guesses. We're going to go back to the properties panel, and we're going to have to create another translation template because we've added more data to the project. So as soon as we click that, click here. I'm not going to bother open this up because you know there's going to have that data there. So I'm going to go to the German one, a German translation, and we're just going to simply go translation, update from pop, find the POT file, click, and we're now translating. Now the thing we're looking for is this shortcode, because that's what Pano2VR is using for Vimeo, for YouTube. We also use the shortcode for Vimeo as well. When we click on it, you can see down here it says node 1 point hotspot blah 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 YouTube ID, so we know it's what it is. And if we click on this, we can see that it's 0.03 is the title for it as well. Now it just so happens I've got, again, in the translation, it found it already, because again I was practicing, but the YouTube video, I'm not happy with that. I don't think that's the one I want. So what I'm going to do is just show you how you would get the code. I'm going to open up the German video, right? And it's I've done, but if we look, let's just pause that. If we look at the URL, the video or the code is here, the ID is here, so that's the bit I want. So I'm going to copy that, all right, and I'm going to paste that into here. Paste. So that I've actually changed that. That wasn't right. Okay, so I've changed that now. So I've now changed the video that I want it to play. So that's me updating. So I'm now just going to save the German translation of it. And what I'm going to do is go to, let's close that box, go to Pano2VR, generate another output, or I could have just saved the project file. I do like clicking that generate output button. But now, of course, here is the video, and when the guy starts talking, it's going to be in English. There we go, blah blah blah. And let's change the language to German. Click the YouTube video. You can see that the tooltip has changed as well to German, and when I click this, you'll see that all the text now is going to be in German. So again, in the recording you'll actually hear the actual sound coming from here, but you would do this with any video. So you just, you know, update your project, add the video to your project or the video hotspot, create a new pot file by a new template, and then you can just update the existing. Okay, now that's actually blasted through that quite quickly, I think. I mean, I think it's just been about an hour, which is a great place to stop. I think that's covered everything with the translations. I'm going to throw it open to Karen one more time. Is there anything that anybody's asking?
No, it's crickets over here.
That is superb. It's either I've bored everyone to death, or they've got it.
Yeah.
So, and I'm hoping it's the latter.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah. So yeah, this is it. So this is a fully translated project now. Not only are we translating language, we're translating the media, or not say translating, but we're swapping out the media and URLs used for the translations as well. Just before I finish up, I'm going to throw it out to, I know we've got one of the team viewing this as well. Is there anything I've forgotten? I don't think I have. I think I've just about covered everything on this. But is there any little tips that I could give people? I'm seeing some feedback coming in. The word I'm looking for is nope, but I'm sure it's not going to be that.
So far, but I just noticed that David just noted that he didn't realize that the URL is also translated in the PO file. Yeah, so all the media, everything you add into that viewer, is going to go into the PO file. And
yep.
Yeah, and Christoph's reminding you. I think you saw this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the skin language. Yes, in the skin editor, in the next beta release. Because in the skin, when you open it up, you can create the translation file. If you click and hold, it opens up the folder where all the translations live, and you got the pot file. I didn't bother doing any of these because basically it only had language and share. They were the only two words I needed to translate in the whole project. So I've already pre-translated those for the skin. But I've got no control over the project skin. What Poedit does, and very cleverly actually, is if you, like in the skin, if the skin just contained German text, and I created a new pot file, it would say, the pot file would open and say source text German. Okay. Now, what actually happened is in the forum, a German speaker had something like this, like an iframe. So the word iframe is in English. There was a couple of other words in English. So when he opened up when he created a pot file for the skin, it thought it was English and it had the source text be in English, which was not correct. So in the next beta, what's going to happen? This so if you click on the background of the skin, we have the skin canvas and margins and all that. We've changed this now. I think we've called this skin settings, and what you'll have is something very similar to this. It will say something like automatic, and then you'll be able to select a language and then select the region and do it that way, so you can force the skin into a language. That's something we've picked up on and addressed, and that's going to happen in the next beta release. Okay, so I think as far as I'm concerned, we've done translations to death. I'm not sure what our next subject will be.
Or when.
We did touch on the cloner and the other things the cloner can do. I don't know if that's going to be something we're going to look at. I don't know. But it sort of seems like it could lead on from this, because we've already touched the cloner and its new settings here. So perhaps we could create something for this. I don't know. Let's just wait and see. But we'll just leave that to be arranged, TBA, on when, where, and well, when is whenever, where is here, and whatever is going to be whatever, I think. But anyway, before I start spouting nonsense, I think I'm just going to say ta-da. Thank you for all joining us today, and over to you, Karen.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. We have a question if this is going to be posted on our website.
Sorry.
And no, it's just a general question. Yeah, so these webinars get posted onto YouTube. They get posted onto our website. And if you go to our website, to the webinars page...
I'll do that.
Oh, yeah, you can show it. We kind of use it as a collection for project files, for project examples. Yeah, that was last week. Go ahead and you can click on last week's. That's
well, I was going to say, we've also got these filters as well. So there's last week's one. So if we click on this, what Karen does, which is excellent, is gives the timestamp. So if you're actually looking into doing one thing, so if you want to learn about PO edit, you can click on this, scrub to 3 minutes 56 seconds, and we start talking about PO edit. Once you get to the us chatting, then you can scrub past that and just get to the juicy bits. That's why it's all time indexed. But you've also got files to download, because that project that we started with, you can download that project, and there's some other links as well.
Yeah, there's just more. And then even sometimes if it's something kind of cool project that Martin's done, we'll put that also in the web page. I think in the custom properties part 2, there's a project there. So anyway, what I'm saying is, yes, this gets blasted everywhere, but the most information is on our website and all in one little package.
Absolutely. And again, all these are filters. So if you're new to Pano2VR, what you would do is click 101 and then probably go to the oldest, and then you'll start from getting started and work forward. And again, with advanced, you can do the same thing. Let's get rid of that one. That will update the page, honest. But yeah, that you know, you can use the filters to find whatever video that you want. Okay. Yeah,
that's it. So thanks a lot for joining us, and I think we'll call it a day today, Martin. Thanks for the nice webinar.
I think we will. Yeah, thanks everyone for joining us. Right, bye.
Bye.